at the time, and it was midnight, and I realized that I had spent the entire evening rereading every single negative Yelp review I ever left. And as I was re-editing this scalding review that I originally wrote a year ago for a dance studio where I took classes 20 years ago, I thought to myself, like, Jesus fucking Christ, Becky, you really need to be having sex, like, right now. So I didn't lose my virginity until, like, right at the end of college. But before that, I had full-on, like, lied that I lost my virginity because, like, all of my friends were having sex and I wasn't. Like, I'd be, like, hanging out at someone's apartment, you know, stoned out of my mind, and, like, someone would be like, have you ever had sex in the shower? And I'd be like, yeah, it's my favorite place to fuck. So when I finally did, like, lose my virginity, I was just like, yes, I could stop lying. Like, this weight was lifted. However, that relief was short-lived because while I've always been able to have an orgasm and experience pleasure clitorally, intercourse itself was excruciatingly painful. It was this stabbing pain that felt both hot and cold at the same time, like right at the entrance to my vagina. It felt like I was being fucked by a barbed wire bat. And I know people might like that, so it's not like there's anything wrong, like, do your thing. But for me, being like, that's unbearable. So, you know, obviously, like, when I would be having sex with someone, like, you know, I'd be making, like, a pained, you know, like, face, you know, and, like, who doesn't want to have sex with someone, like, going like that? And so we would stop, and it would be very awkward, and I would apologize, like, 1,000 times. And I would always say, like, I think it's because of this medication that I take. Anyway, isn't Garden State, like, the most amazing movie ever? And so, having pain with sex, it was maddening. Like, I got mad at my vagina. Like, I wanted to be like, hello, welcome, my co-star. I wanted to be like, to my own vagina, fuck you. We are finally having sex and you are really fucking things up for me. And we're not having sex with anyone, no. We're getting all of this attention from the rock stars of Boston's second largest improv community. And look, I know, wearing a tampon is unbearable, and I know we've fainted after pelvic exams, but I'm pretty sure sex is different because a dick goes inside of you through a different tube. I don't know anatomy, but if you can make the dick tube the tube during sex, like, that would be great. So I had brought this up to a therapist I was seeing when I was around 23, and she said that what I probably had was something called vaginismus. So vaginismus, it's basically, it's when the muscles in your pelvic floor involuntarily go like this. They spasm. So I went to various OBGYNs, and I brought this up. And if there's one thing that you know, doctors excel at, it's taking women seriously. So here are just like, these are just like a few of the things that I was told when I would bring up vaginismus to doctors. Doctors. Okay, here's one. If you're in love with a person, the sex won't hurt. Now, she stopped practicing, and it's a real shame. Vaginismus is a made-up term for people who are scared of sex and or penises. Hit nail on the head, Doc. That sounds like a nightmare. Huh, I've never heard of it. You need to relax. Like, great, I don't need to go to a pharmacy. Have practice. Just have a glass of wine before you have sex. This doctor, she had so many certificates on her wall. She was like a professor of everywhere. You should date someone with a small penis. That's the advice I've ever received. If you have a baby, it should go away. Now he knew what he was talking about. And then, one more. Oh yeah. Maybe you just don't like sex. This doctor had 5 stars on health grades. And I even had one doctor, and this was a doctor. She diagnosed my vagina as unhappy. I had an unhappy vagina. Not happy. Unhappy. And so emotionally, hearing all of this, it just wrecked me. I felt like my body was broken, and I felt frigid, and it made me just profoundly sad. In Phantom of the Opera where okay, like he wears the mask and he hides in the opera basement. I don't know what happens in that show, whatever, but like, he's like wearing the mask and hiding in the opera basement because he's just like, I'm a monster, no one must see my hideousness. I basically did the same thing to my vagina. I was just like, you're a monster. No one must see your frigidness. I'm sealing you in an opera basement, never to be seen by anyone ever again. And in my early 20s, I just like gave up. I stopped dating, I stopped being intimate with people, and I was just like, well, I guess I'm just gonna be a sad, lonely cat lady. Who is even sadder because I don't even have a cat. My building doesn't allow pets. I had just turned 30 when I had this Yelp realization, and a little later on, I was getting into bed one night, and I sleep on the left side of a full-size bed, and I noticed the right side of my bed, and I was just like, oh my God, like no one's ever been on that side of the bed, like a man's head has never lain upon those pillows. And I was just like, am I really going to spend the rest of my life this way? Because all of this time that I wasn't dating, that I wasn't being intimate with people, the pain was making that choice and not me. And I decided that if I was going to be alone for the rest of my life, if I was never going to have sex and never have kids like biologically, it had to be like Becky making that decision and not like Becky's opera basement vagina. So I don't know if you guys know this, but Yelp isn't just a place to leave 1-star reviews. You can use it to find services like a sex therapist, and that is what I did. So if you haven't been to sex therapy before, it's basically the same thing as regular therapy, except you get free lube samples. And with the place that I went to, the therapist's office was located in this like really sleek, very like sterile, modern, professional office building. Yet when you entered her office, it looked like a box of sex exploded. All over the walls were like watercolored pictures of vaginas. On display on like every bookshelf, there were like vibrators and interesting looking sex toys. Like one time I went in for an appointment and I was like, oh, that's a nice paperweight. And then I was like, no, that's a butt plug. And right on her coffee table, like where a vase of flowers should go, there was this rubber dildo suction to it. And like whenever I'd be crying, like, and I would like reach for a tissue, that slight movement of air would like make the dildo bounce all over the place, and it was very distracting. So after a few months of like talking through my emotions with my therapist, I reached this place where I felt like my brain needed to stop associating sex with pain, but with pleasure. So my therapist suggested that I see someone who is a sexological body worker. So, sexological bodywork is an accredited profession, and it is a spiritual practice, and it involves breath work and Reiki, But, Ricky's great, okay. But the major component of it is erotic massage. And its aim is to help you discover your pleasure zones. So one Friday afternoon, I'm trekking all the way out to Mar Vista to meet with this body worker who works out of his home studio, and I'm like thinking like, what the fuck am I doing? What the fuck is gonna happen? I don't think sexological is even a word. So when I arrive at the body worker's home studio, he greets me at the front door with like this huge smile. He is like very fit. He's like maybe mid-50s. He's wearing flowy clothes. He has a ponytail because of course he does. And his home studio, it like looks like this like temple. Like in the middle of the room, there's a massage table with like a silk blanket over it, and there's like a giant gong and like Tibetan healing bowls everywhere. And first we have a discussion on his couch, and he's like sitting, like he's like facing me like comfortably like in a lotus pose, and I'm like sitting on the couch normally, like, you know, but like trying to face him, but still look like normal. And this guy is like, he's like way more spiritual about sex than I was anticipating. He refers to vaginas as yonis. That guy. Which is, if you don't know, that is a Sanskrit word for vagina. And he also personifies them. So he like calls vaginas like she and her. And then he gets into like his spiritual philosophy about sex. And he tells me that we're all sexual energy. We all come from sexual energy. We all started as orgasms. And he goes, Becky, think about it. You're here because your parents, at least your dad, had an orgasm. And I was just like, listen, I really don't want to think about my dad having an orgasm. So then we move on to the actual like healing portion of the session. I get completely undressed. I get on the massage table face down, underneath the blankie, as he called it, and it starts off as a regular massage, but for the erotic portion, I give the body worker my permission to take the blankie off, but for the body worker, taking a blanket off isn't just like taking a blanket off. It is a ritual. So he grabs a mallet, and with all of his like tantric sexual might, he just pounds it on the gong so hard, and the sound is so insanely loud. It was like a 4.0 earthquake was like happening. Like a dog started barking outside. I was worried a car alarm was gonna go off, and there's like no doubt in my mind that his neighbors could like hear the gong, and I just like pictured them like living their lives, being in their house, being like, oh, he's doing the blanket thing. Anyway, and I'm like laughing as he's like slowly peeling this blanket off little by little. So then I give him my permission to do like some light sensual touching. He takes a feather tickler and he, you know, brushes that over my body, and he takes a whip and he brushes that over my body, and then he blows with his mouth like over my body and down my back and like over my butt crack, and it feels so good. And then he does other things like massage my scalp and pull my hair, and I'm like, okay, that's a thing I like now. Then he invites me to flip over, and I do, and now my yoni is completely exposed. And while this is like a safe space, it's still like a really vulnerable feeling, so instinctively, I like squeeze my eyes shut, and I can hear him take a stool and pull it up to sit at my vagina because it's his workspace now. I can just like sense that he's looking at it, and I start to feel very self-conscious because I am a natural redhead, and I won't beat around the actual. I have red pubic hair, and so. I I begin rapidly recalling all of these awful memories I have of people calling me a fire crotch. I went to Jewish sleepaway camp, and all of the girls, like, we all had to shower together, so girls would literally, like, point at my bush and laugh at it. So this is all I'm thinking about right now. It's just a bunch of girls who are all named Rachel, pointing and laughing at my ugly vagina, and now, like, here it is on display in front of this body worker, like a tray of, like, food. And then he whispers, "She's beautiful." And then I freeze because I'm like, do I respond to that? Like, how does one respond to that? And he goes, "Becky, did you hear what I said?" And I go, "Yes, thank you." So then I give him my consent to let him touch that area of my body, and he just gets like laser focused on my vulva, and he's massaging like very small areas on my labia, and he is doing it with such tight precision. It was like those people who carve like doll furniture. And then at one point, as he's massaging my vulva, someone from UPS drops a package on his front door. And like you could hear the package being dropped off because like the windows are open. So as he's massaging my vulva, he shouts out, "Thank you." And then the UPS person was like, "You're welcome, have a great day." And then the body worker was like, "You have a great day too." And I'm just like, okay, everyone just have a great day. So then I feel a little bit of pain, and my muscles kind of tighten up, and then I let the body worker maneuver his thumb to my clit, and now I am back to feeling pleasure again, and I feel more pleasure, and more pleasure, and more pleasure, and more pleasure, and then I have an orgasm, and it was the weirdest orgasm I've ever had. And before I even had a chance to like process how weird it was, I totally started to panic because I had no idea what time it was, and I probably had to hit the road because I had tickets with a friend to go see Dirty Dancing the musical that night. So in like a really like frazzled state, like I tell the body worker that I'm done, and he gives me space to like collect myself and get dressed. And when he comes back in, he asks how I'm doing, and I realize that I am just like flabbergasted right now. I can't believe that I came here. I can't believe that I came. And he tells me, like, don't overthink this right now. Just, like, let the emotions come and give yourself time to process them. So here's something about me. I overthink everything. Like, overthink is how I regular think. And when I'm back in my car, like, frantically racing back to the other side of town, the emotions do come. And it's shame. I feel so disgusted with myself that my body is so broken that I just PayPal'd a stranger via friends and family to give me an orgasm, and I just burst into tears. So when I finally make it to Dirty Dancing the musical, like I look like a mess, like my eyes are red from crying, and I reek of sage, and my hair is a wreck from the hair pulling out like so much. And when I see my friend and she asks me like, "So what did you do today?" I just didn't have the strength to like bottle all of this in and be like, "Oh, nothing." And so I tell her everything, and I'm doing it like covering my face in case for some reason everyone at the Pantages Theater could somehow hear me. And when I'm done, I'm like looking at her and I'm like waiting for her to like think I was this like pervert lady who had a happy ending massage, and to tell me that I shouldn't say anything and that I was like disgusting, but what comes out of her mouth is, "I am so impressed." And I just felt this sense of relief, like, oh, what I did wasn't gross. It was actually really good for me. I found my pleasure zones. So when I went to see the body worker for a second time, we were talking on his couch again, and I was telling him how I, wanted to try dating again, but I was like feeling really nervous about like putting myself out there and connecting with people again. And then he asked me if I ever heard of something called a cuddle party. And I was like, that sounds disgusting, but I need to know everything about this. So cuddle parties are like how they sound. Like I guess like groups of people come together and they cuddle, and it's like a way to experience like physical affection, but it's not supposed to be sexual. And and as he was telling me about it, I found it weird. But I was like, well, going to the body worker was weird, and I got something out of it. I don't know. Maybe going to a cuddle party could be good for me. So I go back home and I do some research. And I find a company in Los Angeles who hosts cuddle parties. And as I was reading more about it, I was just like, okay, I don't know if I can go to a cuddle party. Like, I get social anxiety at parties where there's no cuddling. But then I see a link on their site that says professional cuddling services. And as it turns out, you can hire a professional cuddler for a one-on-one cuddling session. And I was like, ooh, professional, I like that. They have training. Plus, it's only $90, which is way cheaper than therapy in Los Angeles, and just a few dollars more than a salad in Los Angeles. So I contact the company, and in order for me to attend a professional cuddling session, they have to do a background check on me. I pass, I'm safe to be cuddled with. On the day of my appointment, I woke up in one of those like really cranky moods where I didn't want to get out of bed, and I was just like, I have this fucking cuddle I have to go to today. But I rally and I head over, and so because the company refers to like its cuddling locations as sanctuaries, I was under the assumption that I was like gonna go to a place that looked like a yoga studio, but I wind up in front of like a regular apartment, and after a food delivery person lets me in through the front gate, I greet my cuddler at his front door, and I am just like face to face with like the chillest guy I have ever seen. Like, he has one of those like permanently stoned faces. He's probably my age, a little taller than me. He has these really broad shoulders. I was like, I bet he does a lot of upper body workouts. The theory is confirmed when I spotted a pull-up bar in a doorway. And when I walked in, I glanced toward his kitchen, and I see he has all of these like brown paper bags just filled to the rim with empty Fruit Loops boxes. And then I glance on the floor by his front door, and I see a whole pile of Adidas slip-on sandals. And then I realize I'm just in a guy's apartment right now. Like, I'm about to cuddle with like a dude. So then we move into the cuddle sanctuary, which in this case is a dude's bedroom, but his bed is made. And we sit in chairs and we talk a bit. And this guy, is like spiritual, I guess. He tells me that this is a safe space, and I'm in charge of how much physical contact I want to have or I don't want to have. He was like, we can spoon or gaze into each other's eyes or even play board games. And I was like, ooh, I wonder if he has a Connect 4. But then he asks me what my goals are for this session and why I'm here. And I find myself at a loss for words because I don't want to like tell him about my sexual issues. So I just start talking, and then suddenly I am like spewing out like all of these really deep insecurities about myself. I'm talking about like how I just want to know if I can connect with people, because right now like I don't know if that's me. Like, what if like my role in this world is to just be a spectator, and all I'm ever going to do is just watch everyone else like find love and find happiness and cultivate lives for themselves. And as I was talking, I finally think, Becky, what the fuck are you doing right now? Are you really gonna like spoon with this fish super fan? I felt like I was seeing an abstinence prostitute, which if you think about it is insanely perverted. And then for some reason I started thinking about those people who have that fetish where they like to dress up like a baby and they hire people to like treat them like baby, and I was like, oh my god, am I a baby person? And I know people are into being babies, like that's fine. It's not like there's anything wrong with being a baby person. It was just that like this was like the wrong time for me to be having this realization. And I started to feel like so pathetic again and like overwhelmed, and I started to cry. And the cuddler assured me that it was fine, that this could, this can be like a emotional place for people. And so I excused myself to his bathroom, and I'm standing there, and I'm just thinking, like, should I just leave? And I glanced toward his bathtub, and I see he has these, like, kids' finger painting soaps. And I was like, that's fucking weird. And then I noticed he has a whiteboard facing his toilet. I was like, that's fucking weird too. But kind of a good idea. And then I was like, wait a minute, doing something weird can be good. You don't know if you don't try. Plus, you passed the background check. So I come back out and I tell the cuddler that I am ready, and he suggests that we sit on the bed side by side with our shoulders touching. And as we were sitting there, I started to feel like that post-cry fatigue. So I was just like, I think I'm gonna lie back. And he was like, can I lie back next to you? And I go, sure. So we're lying there. And then I turned to him and I was like, so what's your deal? Are you just like a full-time professional cuddler? And he goes, oh, no. I actually came out here to break into the industry. And as he started talking to me about this amazing idea he has for a really unique documentary, I just dozed off. And I would wake up here and there when he would ask me a question. Like, he would be like, do you know what chi means? And I'd be like, my go-to Scrabble word. And then I would, like, doze off again. And then, like, I would wake up again when he would be like, do you know any side gigs I'd be good for? And I was like, did you hear of that app called WAG? And then I would, like, doze off again. And then I woke up one last time because our session has come to a close. And before I leave, he was just like, can I hold your hand? And I go, sure. And he grabs my hand, and he does it with, like, such confidence, like, don't worry, I know how to, like, hold a hand. And he's holding my hand, and he tells me that I have really good energy, which I'm sure he says to everyone. So when I get back in my car, I was feeling, like, really numb. And it felt like my brain was, like, still sleeping. And then I was just like, well, I guess I'll go to the Glendale Galleria now. I think, I'm from New Jersey, so I find, like, comfort in being in, like, mediocre malls where kids have tantrums in food courts. And as I was driving, I kept thinking, like, was this weird experience good for me? And the answer was no. Because truthfully, like, what I was, like, feeling nervous about was having sex one day. It had been so long since I had been, like, intimate with someone, and I was just like, do I even remember how to kiss? Like, does my body remember what to do? And then I started thinking, I wish I could just get that first hookup out of the way where I didn't feel any pressure to, like, please another person. I could just, like, focus on me. And then I thought, I wonder if there's someone out there who's maybe a non-abstinence prostitute. So after a lot of thinking, and with the support of my sex therapist, and finding a well-vetted, reputable company, I decided that what I needed to do at this point of my healing process was to hire a high-class male escort for 2 hours. So in the days leading up to my encounter, I was freaking out about everything. I'm like, what do I wear, and do I eat before or do I eat after? And if I eat before, like, what do I eat? And if I eat after, like, what if I get lightheaded? And I'm Googling, like, what's the best chapstick for kissing? And one thing I was freaking out about is how I would pay the escort, because you do have to pay in all cash, but I was like, but this is a high-class escort. Like, how do high-class people pay escorts? Like, do they just, like, hand them like a brick of money. So I decided that the classy thing for me to do was to put all of the money in a thank you card. So I find this thank you card that had a phrase on it that I thought would like encompass his professional services. It said, "Thank you for your awesomeness." So I had booked a night at the Sheraton in Pasadena for the occasion, and the Sheraton in Pasadena, it's like where people go under here for like business trips. Like it's not like a fun resort. So when I go to check in, the front desk person was like, "So, what brings you to Pasadena?" And I freeze, and I go through this Rolodex of like all these potential answers, like my apartment flooded, or I'm here for the conference. But what I end up saying is, "Oh, you know, just a Pasadena weekend." So, you know, a Pasadena weekend. Okay. So, a few hours later, I'm sitting at the bar at the Sheraton in Pasadena. My heart is pounding. I thought I was gonna barf. I'm sipping a whiskey. I'm wearing the only dress I feel confident in, which was the dress that I wore to my grandmother's memorial. And all I was thinking again and again was, "Rebecca, what would Bubby think of you?" So on the escort company's website, there's like all these different types of like guys you can choose from. There's like heavily tattooed men and like underwear models and like guys wearing flannel shirts and like shrugging in a sexy way, and like the guy I chose was, you know, beautiful and like high cheekbones, brown hair, like he looked like the high class male escort version of Matt Bomer from Magic Mike. I know. And in his like main photo, he was like wearing a suit and tie and was like mid walk, and he was like adjusting his tie and like looking diagonally in like a sexy way. He looked like a sexy Wall Street guy, and I was like, oh, maybe he can give me financial advice. So finally the escort full on struts into the bar. He is he's wearing like, you know, slacks and a dress shirt. He's carrying a tiny backpack. Like, he looks like he just walked off of an ad for luggage in an in-flight magazine. And I stand and I wave, and as he approaches, I hold my hand out to shake his hand, and I'm like, "Nice to meet you." And at the same time, like, he's going in for a hug and is like, "Good to see you." And so we do the awkward, like, are we hugging, are we shaking our hand, like, dance? And I'm thinking, Becky, you already fucked this up, I didn't even begin yet. So we talk at the bar a bit, and this guy is just like everyone else in Los Angeles, wants to be an actor, but has a lot of side hustles, including literal hustling. So then we, you know, continue with the small talk, and we maneuver to my hotel room, continuing with the small talk, and I am feeling very awkward and uncomfortable, and I am talking so much, and I am telling him all of these things about me, like where I buy my underwear, and like what I talked about in regular therapy, and then I tell him something that I have never told anyone before. I feel like my nipples get hard every time I feel an emotion. And I tell him this, and then I start like running out of stuff to say, so I just start making things up. Like, I told him that I had been arrested for trespassing before. I've never broken the law, except for up until this point where I'm like about to pay for sexual favors. And so as we were talking, I like kept thinking like, okay, like when's like the like kissing and stuff gonna happen? And then I realized like, oh, I think he's like waiting for me to be the one to initiate this. So I awkwardly whisper, "I want you to kiss me now." And he smiles so seductively, and we start going at it, and it is delightful. My body remembers what to do right away. he offers to go down on me, and I say, great, but there's one thing you should know. So during the times that I did have painful sex, I still managed to get HPV, and it had resurfaced, and it was the high-risk kind that can cause cervical cancer. So to him, I was just like, and I don't know, I guess I just don't want you to get cervical cancer in your mouth. And then he gets confused and was just like, well, I don't have a cervix in my mouth. And I don't know what came over me, but then I just blurted out, not yet, you do. He thought it was funny, which was great. I had like done some research on dental dams, and I ordered these mint-flavored dental dams off of Amazon, and I think we used them upside down because for like 2 weeks afterward, it felt like my vagina was like sucking on an Altoid. So after I had 2 orgasms in the course of, at most, a minute and a half. Honestly, at this point, it felt like I was in like a different reality. I felt like this woman who had a working body. I didn't feel like a sad, lonely, catless cat lady. So when he asked if I wanted to have sex, I hesitated because I wanted to so bad. But this voice in the back of my head was just like, Becky, if you try, you're going to ruin this night. So I tell him that I can't, and instead of like making things up about this medication that I take, I ended up telling him the truth. I told him that I had vaginismus. And then he got this like really inquisitive look on his face, and he grabs his phone and he was like, how do you spell it? And I see that he's looking it up in this physiotherapy database because, as it turns out, he has another side hustle, and that is being a physical therapy assistant. So then we hung out for a little while longer. We were curious if we had any Facebook friends in common. Turns out we did, 3 people. And you might be in the audience, you don't know. And so at the end of the night, I handed him his thank you card, and I'm sure when he talks shop with his peers, he's probably like, a little weirdo gave me a thank you card. But I thought about this night like for days after, and like constantly, and like what my brain was like fixated on was this image of the escort sitting on the bed, looking at his phone, biceps bulging, as he's trying to educate himself about female sexual dysfunction. And out of all of the partners that I've had, and out of all of the doctors that I've been to, it was the escort. It was this 2-hour-long fake boyfriend who was the one who validated my pain. So, the next month, I totally upped the ante on tackling this pain. I began seeing all of these specialists, and I learned that what I actually have is something called, oh, I'm gonna need some help. Is there a strapping audience member who could hold this part of the plate? Oh, Molly. Can we just hold it down? Thank you so much. Hold on. It is, whoa. Wait till you see. Okay, so what I actually have is something called, you're doing
I'll go this
great.
way.
You're doing great. Okay, now lift it up. Congenital neuroproliferative vestibulodynia. These aren't words. They're not words. Thank you, Molly. Okay, so vestibulodynia is basically, it's where, welcome back my co-star, great acting. So it's basically when you have highly sensitive nerves and nerve pain in the entrance to your vagina, or the vestibule, or the tissue that surrounds the happy face in your vagina. Unlike men who have erectile dysfunction where, all they really have to do is like, you can go to a pharmacy and get a pill, and then take the pill, and then, you know, live their best lives. I spent 4 years of my life and thousands of dollars doing the following. So these are dilators, AKA Russian nesting dildos. And you basically like stick them in and it like stretches out your vagina, and that, you know, worked a little bit. And then I did pelvic floor physical therapy, where a PT will like knead out the fascia of your vagina. And I also used this thing, which is a pelvic one, where I guess it like cranks your vagina. And that worked a little bit. And then I had surgery, and for a month afterward, sitting was incredibly uncomfortable. And it just happened to be the time where I was finally able to score Hamilton tickets, which is like a very important sitting occasion. But the surgery worked for a few months. So then I did hormone therapy, which didn't work at all. So if any of you want these tiny tubes of testosterone, they're yours. But just know that if you take it, it will disqualify you from the Olympics. Don't let them near children because they will grow beards. So then I started using Valium suppositories and numbing cream. So anytime I wanted to have sex, I had to stick a suppository up my butt and put numbing cream on my vestibule and then wait half an hour. And there's like nothing sexier than like having to like stop foreplay and then being like, should we watch an episode of Frasier? How do we wait? And then I did something called shockwave therapy. And so I went to a plastic surgeon in Beverly Hills, who, by the way, one of the co-stars of Dr. 90210. I went there, and there, you go into an exam room, and there's this, like, generator thing, and attached to the generator thing is, like, this hose thing, and then at the end of the hose thing is, like, a ball thing, and this ball emits these electric shocks, and then a technician who has great skin and a dazzling manicure, she puts the ball thing up to your pelvis, and it, like, sends these electroshocks into your pelvis. And that actually worked quite a bit, but not all the way. And I'm still doing things right now. Like last week, like before the show, I got this thing called the Mona Lisa touch. Why is it called Mona Lisa? What does Mona Lisa have to do with any of this? But basically, I went to a different plastic surgeon's office in Beverly Hills, which was right across the street from the other one, so very convenient, same parking lot. There, the Mona Lisa touch is basically they stick a laser in your vagina, and this laser is supposed to generate healthy cells. And when I got it done, it didn't really hurt that much because they like numb you, but it kind of felt like I was getting a cavity filled. But the cavity was like my vagina, I guess. So my doctor had told me that it usually takes like 3 sessions for to like finally start feeling like the full effects and to finally feel like pain-free. But I had heard that there have been women who see improvements after their first session. So a few days ago, I was curious. I was like, oh, I wonder if I'm one of those some women. And I wasn't. And I got, like, really sad. It's devastating. And I feel like I keep doing this. Like, I don't know. Like, I continue to, like, make myself heartbroken. Because, like, I just, again and again, like, naively wish that there could just be one thing that could just like make all of this go away. My nipples are like really hard right now. So during the time I was spending all these 4 years getting treatment, I was both privileged enough and frustrated enough to go down to San Diego to visit the foremost doctor on female sexual health, who's a man. And so this doctor, he's like written books, and he's been interviewed on like every article about female sexual health, and people from all over fly in to see this guy, and not just like patients, but like medical professionals will fly in to have this guy be like their mentor. So when I showed up, I had given my permission to like let some of these mentees observe his like process, and I had thought maybe there would be 2 mentees, but there were 5. And one of these mentees, I have to say, was like one of the hottest guys I've ever seen. Like, everyone's beautiful, whatever, but like this guy, he was like empirically hot. He was like if every contestant on The Bachelorette like molded together and had a medical degree. Like, I wanted to be like, there's this escort company in Los Angeles, like, you make a killing. So the actual like sexual health doctor, he's an older guy who's very gregarious, and he like really enjoys his like role as a mentor. So when he would ask me a question of like, oh, so when do you think your pain began? And I would start on my usual monologue of like, oh, I think when I was 14, this doctor interrupted me, and then he would turn to like the hot mentee and be like, and what are the 3 areas of the vulvar region? And the hot mentee would be like, the vulva, the vestibule, and the introitus. And then I was like, oh my god, the hottest guy in the world just said introitus. Like, my vagina's fixed. So then we move on to the actual like exam room. And so me, the doctor, all 5 mentees, plus the nurse, plus the doctor's medical assistant, we all cram into like this really small exam room. So what sets this facility apart from others is that the doctor uses these glasses that have like a camera attached to them, and the camera feeds into this big screen TV that's facing you. So you can see your own pelvic exam happening like in HD on the big screen. And like, as they're all like observing, what the medical assistant points out is if I am not even there, she has a really small right labia minora. And then all 2,500 people in the room, like, not in agreement. Like, yeah, that's a really small right labia minora. And, like, the hot mentee is, like, taking notes about my small right labia minora. And then the doctor shouts out, sweet Christmas, that is a small right labia minora. And if you were like, did this doctor who had a Jewish last name say sweet Christmas? He did. People still say sweet Christmas, and he is those people. So as they're like poking around in there, and I'm like observing all of this happening, I turned to one of the mentees, and I was just like, I feel like I'm FaceTiming with my own vagina. And she did not appreciate that joke, which I thought was very adorable. Wait a minute. Is my vagina FaceTiming me right now? I guess so. Hi?
Hi, Becky. Look, there's a speculum baby.
Yeah, I see that.
We have a small right labia minora.
I'm gonna call you back, okay?
Okay, bye.
So during these 4 years of treatment, at the same time I started dating, and I was finally able to have non-painful sex. And the first time I did was, I think, like 2 years ago. It was right after I had surgery, and I was seeing someone at the time, and I really liked him. He was really smart, very sweet, and was like really cool that intercourse was going to be off the table for a while. So I had gone out of town, and when I got back, I had my final follow-up with my doctor, and he finally signed off, gave me the okay, I could start having sex. And I was just like over the moon. Like, I'm seeing this great guy, I can have sex, and like, I wanted to make this like a really special night, like for me and for us. And then 3 days after that doctor's appointment, he dumped me. So the first time that I had non-painful sex was a rebound. It was with this guy that I had casually hooked up with before a few times. he on his OkCupid profile, he said he was 38, but he was really 45. He's from Switzerland. He didn't have a bed frame, which, not to be judgmental, even for a 38-year-old is a little, like, whatever. And then one time when he was over at my house, we were making out on my bed, and my bed sheets have unicorns on them because I'm whimsical, and as we're making out, he goes, "You are just like adult baby." So when we were having sex, I had a really hard time being in the moment because, like, I kept waiting for the pain to come, but it didn't, and then it was over. I didn't come either, that's okay. Like, honestly, like, I was just, like, very excited to, like, go to the bathroom to pee to prevent a UTI, because I was like, I can do that again. And when I come back out, he's lying on the right side of my bed, and I get into bed on the left side of my bed, and he's talking, I'm not really paying attention to what he's saying. All I was thinking was, again and again, was, okay, that was it. I finally had non-painful sex. And it was with the guy who called me an adult baby. So, like, I wish I could say, like, I'm all better. Like, I wish I could say that, like, I'm, right now having the best sex of my life with a virile beast of a man who fucks my brains out 20 times a day and who finds me funny, but I'm not there yet. Like, I'm still dealing with this shit, and dating is, like, really hard. But what I can say is that I am no longer mad at my vagina. And can you guys hang on 1 second? I'm sorry.
Hi, Becky.
Hey, sorry if I was rude to you at the doctor's office, and always.
That's okay. You've gotten a lot nicer over the years.
Really?
Yeah, you're not leaving 1-star Yelp reviews anymore.
I did leave a 5-star review for that band tour in Austin, so.
Hey, Becky.
Yeah.
Becky, I just wanted to say that, I'm really happy you took me out of the opera basement, and I just wanted to give you this.